Hey guys, and welcome on into the final NHL season preview show. And today we're going to be talking all about the Vegas Golden Knights and looking at their 2023-2024 season preview. To do that with me today is Nicholas Earl at Earl Sports Bets. Make sure to go give him a follow on his Twitter. Link is in the description below. And if you're kind of sad that this is the last NHL season preview show, there is lots of content coming on the channel. Me and Nick will be going through our power ranking show. So that will be the night before the season begins. There'll be five of us going through our power ranking. So lots of different opinions. I'm sure it could probably get feisty at times. So make sure to tune into that. NHL pick show, of course, on my channel, daily AHL pick show will be mostly just weekends when they have the big slates. And then Nick has his daily show on his channel. So lots of content on both of our channels. Make sure to give us both a follow and stay tuned for the lots of content coming. We'll start the show as we usually do, and that's looking at additions and subtractions, not upcoming free agents. Oops, additions and subtractions here for the Vegas Golden Knights. And of course, they won the cup last year. So um, even teams that win the cup, there's still going to be things that you're going to do the next season because players come and go. And when you look at what the Vegas Golden Knights have done in the additions, it's not much. Um, the three guys up top, I'll be honest, I don't really know too much about them. So they're depth guys. Maybe one of them surprises and plays really well. There's always potential for that. Max Comtois was invited to camp. I'm not sure exactly what happened with that, if he'll get a 1 year contract or something at a league minimum. But overall, the additions is not really there for the Vegas Golden Knights. Looking at the subtractions on who left, I was talking to Nick before the show started, and I mentioned Riley Smith. I know Vegas has to make some cap room, but I really don't like losing Riley Smith. Of course, the Golden Knights got him in the expansion draft. He was been a really good offensive and leader on the team for years. He's gone now. Laurent Brossois, of course, injuries. He's always kind of injured. He's going back to Winnipeg now, so he's gone. Teddy Bluger, who we just talked about yesterday on the Vancouver Canucks show, is a great addition for the Canucks in the fourth line. He's now gone from Vegas. Nolan Patrick, who's always had that high potential but never turned out, is also gone. Jonathan Quick, old, but he's off to the Rangers to be a backup, so he's going to play more than he potentially did last year. Phil Kessel hasn't been signed anywhere yet, but has said that he is fine with breaking his Ironman streak, so the streak of not missing a game. He is ready to play for a team, even if he'll be a healthy scratch at times. So Kessel getting to the end of his career, and the other two guys are depth guys. So overall, the Golden Knights did have to make some changes here in the offseason. They didn't really add very much at all, and they did lose some good pieces here. So we'll take a look at the rest of the Golden Knights offseason. But when it comes to additions and subtractions, a decrease here for the Vegas Golden Knights. Nick, additions, subtractions for the Vegas Golden Knights. What do you think here overall?
Yeah, this is a Vegas Golden Knights team that I was very happy about last year. They did lose a few pieces, as you expect from Cup winning teams. Nolan Patrick, that was a little bit of a depth piece. Say with Teddy Bluger, I believe they got Bluger from the Penguins during the trade deadline, something along those lines. Riley Smith's obviously the big one of the original Golden Knights. Sucks to see him go, especially to the Penguins, but that's beyond the point. Laurent Brossois is a backup goaltender. I like Logan Thompson and Aiden Hill for this team, so I don't think, kind of Laurent Brossois is one of those goaltenders where you're okay with letting him go. Same with Jonathan Quick, which if Jonathan Quick, if Shesterkin gets hurt, the Rangers are screwed. That's beyond the point, though. But yeah, as for additions, they didn't make many because I don't think they really needed to. They re-signed a few pieces that they needed to. And things along those lines. And I still think this team is built to compete. this is still, even though they lost a couple pieces because they're the Stanley Cup champions. A little spoiler: this is still one of the top teams in the NHL. I mean, the Vegas Golden Knights didn't lose enough for me to really say they're going to take a huge step back this year. Overall, they lost depth pieces and Riley Smith. That was basically all they lost. So, considering this team was pressed up against cap trouble for a while and just won the cup, and all they really lost was Riley Smith, I consider this offseason a win.
All right. Yeah, I never said that it was going to be a drastically horrible offseason, but a slight decrease or a decrease in my opinion. But
Mm-hmm.
we'll get to future bets and stuff later on to talk about how we think how we think the Vegas Golden Knights will do um,
Fun
here
show.
in the season overall. Upcoming free agents, a lot of teams in this division, and I said it a couple show. I think when we were talking San Jose, and I've noticed a lot of teams in this division have two defensemen that are upcoming free agents. Most teams have one goalie and then a bunch of forwards. So I don't know what it is about this specific division signing all their forwards to a certain amount of deals, but it is what it is. No goaltenders to talk about for the Vegas Golden Knights upcoming free agents. So their goaltenders are locked in. Ben Hutton most likely will find himself a different team. Alec Martinez, I have his picture there. He's a UFA. He is an integral part. Uh, Such a great defensive defenseman, an integral part of the Vegas Golden Knights defensive core. One of the reasons why they were such a great team and went all the way to the cup last year. So the Golden Knights are going to probably try to find a way to re-sign him going forward. I can't see them letting him go. And then when it comes to the forwards, I have Jonathan Marchessault, his picture there. He's a UFA, but I didn't put Chandler Stevenson. No, I went down to the bottom. Pavel Dorofeev. One show that I forgot to mention that's coming up is my player props show that I'm going to be doing. That will be going over players from every single team that I'm keeping my eye on. And last year it was Dorofeev. He came out here. Nobody really knew too much about him. Played really well in the AHL. Came out here for Vegas and was scoring goals. He was a streaky goal scorer, and that's what I love because when I see guys on streaks, that's usually when I'm betting them for player props. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on Mr. Dorofeev and see how he does if he gets in the lineup for the Vegas Golden Knights. I'll be keeping my eye on him. The Golden Knights should definitely re-sign him. They should definitely re-sign Jonathan Marchessault. We all know what he did last year for the Vegas Golden Knights, and they don't win the cup uh, without Jonathan Marchessault. Um, they might not even make it past the first round. So he's was an integral part of their Stanley Cup run last year. So you re-sign him, you re-sign Dorofeev, you re-sign Martinez, Chandler Stevenson, and William Carrier, Michael Amadio. Those guys, I don't know. I don't know if the Vegas Golden Knights let them go or re-sign one or two of them. It's very possible they will. The cap is supposed to go up a bit next season. But Dorofeev, Marchessault, Martinez, those are the three guys I'd be focusing in on most re-signing if I was the Vegas Golden Knights. Nick, if you were general manager of the Vegas Golden Knights, who would be at the top of your list to be re-signed this offseason?
Yeah, and I like the way you phrased it a little bit. They should resign Marchessault. They should resign Amadio. Amadio, I think it will be a lot easier to do that. Here's the thing with Jonathan Marchessault, though, is he's 32 years old. He's making $5 million next year or this year. And considering what he's done with this team, he's going to get a pay increase. They're not going to give him only $5 million. And if you look at this Vegas Golden Knights team, and I mentioned it a little bit during their additions and subtractions, and I said considering where they are cap space wise and all that fun jazz and winning the cup, um, this is going to be a problem for Vegas because yeah, they would love to re-sign Marchessault. They would love to re-sign Stevenson. The big question is how much higher is the cap next year? Because this team, because of LTIR, if they didn't have LTIR, they would be $4 million over the cap. Obviously, Robin Lehner is on LTIR, so that's why they're able to stay under the cap at the moment. But this is a team that doesn't have the extra money to sign a Marchessault. That doesn't have the extra money to re-sign Stevenson because I think Stevenson gets paid more. So I think money is going to be a big problem for this Vegas Golden Knights team. So yeah, they should resign Marchessault. They should resign Martinez. They should resign Stevenson and Amadio and Dorifor. Question is, can they? Is the big question here, and it all depends on how much the cap goes up. Because I have a feeling this is going to be one of those stories with the Vegas Golden Knights because they have Eichel. They're paying him $10 million a year for the next 3 years. They're paying Mark Stone $9.5 million for the next 4 years. They're paying Pietrangelo 8.8 for the next 4 years. This is a problem with the Vegas Golden Knights. They're top heavy when it comes to cap, and they may have sold their soul for the Stanley Cup that they won last year. Maybe they're going to compete again this year because they still have the roster to do it this year. But I have a feeling in the next couple of years, some cuts are going to have to be made, and Marchessault may be a victim of that. So, should they? Absolutely. Can they? That's the big question.
Yeah, if I'm Vegas, I'm letting Stevenson go if
Mm-hmm.
it means keeping Marchessault.
Of course.
I know he's up there in age, but if you want to keep your cap or your cap, if you want to keep your Stanley Cup window open, you need Marchessault. Once you get rid of him, or even Martinez too, because he's an extremely important, of course, different player being a defenseman, but like
Martinez is
extreme.
also 36 years old too, so keep that in mind as well. And he's going to get a pay increase the next time he gets signed.
Yeah, so he's getting up there in age as well, but
Yep.
still very important on this
Mm-hmm.
defense core for Vegas Golden Knights. Speaking of the defense core for the Vegas Golden Knights, we'll take a look here at their possible lineup heading into this season. Barbashev, Eichel, and Marchessault on the top pair there. Um, I can't tell you how often last season Marchessault goal, Eichel assist, same game
Mm-hmm.
parlays. Marchessault point, Eichel point, same game parlays. I'm of course going to be looking at the same thing heading into this season. Barbashev did really well when he played for Vegas. Let me see here. He played in 23 games and had 16 points. So chemistry on that top line. Howden, Stevenson, and Stone on the second line. A very good second line still for the Vegas Golden Knights. Cotter, Carlson, Amadio on the third line. Carrier, Roy, and Colasar on the fourth line. Not as big offensive guys, obviously, on those bottom two lines, but really good defensive players and guys that don't make a ton of mistakes. So, really good forward line overall. They are top heavy, though, when it comes to skill and offense. Although Stevenson, as I talked and said about letting Stevenson go, he was second in points, 1 point fewer than Eichel. Of course, Eichel played in um, 14 less games. So um, better season overall for Eichel. But Stevenson was an important piece to the offense. Obviously, he plays with Stone, so that should continue this year. Looking at the defense, Martinez on the top pair with Pietrangelo, a great defensive and offensive defenseman together. McNabb and Theodore, again, the same thing there. Haig and Whitecloud, a really good third defensive pair. The Vegas Golden Knights defense is maybe not um, the most popular players necessarily, but they're low key and being really good. And they're not necessarily flashy, but they do their jobs, and they made Vegas a really good team. Goaltenders, Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson. Of course, Nick already brought up Robin Lehner's on LTIR, so it is Aiden Hill's net coming into the season. We've never seen what we saw from Hill on that playoff run in his career previous. So, is he a one-hit wonder? People are saying the same thing about Philip Gustafson in Minnesota. They're
Mm-hmm.
kind of comparable in that they had really good seasons last year, not really previously to that. Of course, Gustafson had a better year, but he didn't win the Stanley Cup. Logan Thompson, a good backup. Maybe he tries to fight for the starting job this year. So Vegas, really good defensive core, really good, at least top offensive line, their top line. But goaltending, maybe that's the question mark on this team. Do we see Aiden Hill take a step backwards? And is Logan Thompson able to cover the slack if he does? Nick, what do you think about this possible lineup for the Vegas Golden Knights?
Yeah, you mentioned that this defense core is low key really good. I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to say this is the best blue line in hockey. I said this last year, and that's why this was a team that won the Stanley Cup last year. That's why I really liked them to win the Stanley Cup last year, is because on paper, this is the best blue line in hockey. Martinez, Petrangelo, McNabb, Theodore, Whitecloud, and Haig. I really like this blue line. I mean, this is the big piece of this Vegas Golden Knights team that I think really kept them in games, and that's probably why Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson, Jonathan Quick, Laurent Brossoit didn't really matter who they put in net. They just had success. It's because they had the best blue line in front of them. We were wondering whether or not Aiden Hill can repeat this. I think he can. The reason why he was so bad is look who the teams he played for, Arizona and San Jose. Last time I knew, you don't have much success with those two teams. You just don't. This is a leaps and bounds better Vegas Golden Knights team than Aiden Hill has played in behind at all in his career. So that's why he took the step up, because he got more support. As for this team on paper has the chance to be the best team in the NHL once again. Now, obviously, the price we'll talk about this next slide. The price we're getting for them to win the cup is nowhere near where it was last year. But this is still on paper a really good hockey team, including, in my opinion, the best blue line in hockey. So, yeah, we can say the goaltending is a question mark. We said that last year as well, and they just did just fine with what they had. So, hopefully, a team like New Jersey can have this. Who looks like they have a similar problem this year that Vegas has. Is not a problem. So, but yeah, this is on paper still arguably the best team in hockey for the Vegas Golden Knights.
Well, I disagree a little bit with being the best, but if you want to find out who we have ranked as the best and the worst teams, make sure to check out the power ranking show that'll be coming up in a few days. The last thing I do want to say about this possible lineup, Dorofeyev should not be a healthy scratch. That
No.
is not a way to build on his development. Uh, if you don't want him in the lineup, but he had 7 goals in 18 games, 9 points total in 18 games. So he played really well, left winger. Honestly, if I was coach, I'd be giving him a shot with Stevenson and Stone to start the season on the second line. But we'll see what happens with him. If I was coach, I'd have him in the lineup here, even in the third line at least. But don't waste him away as a healthy scratch. Send him to the HL if he's not going to play. Or if you really don't want him in the lineup, give Bill Guerin a call. I'm sure Kirill Kaprizov would love to have Dorofeyev to join the Wild, but I'm probably dreaming.
That's not a homer statement whatsoever.
No, of course not. But going on to future bets for the Vegas Golden Knights, starting with their point total, which is 103.5. They got 111 last year. The 4 seasons previous to that, they didn't hit 100. Of course, only 2 of them were full game seasons, but they were 93, 94 points. So last year, they did take that next step and win over 50 games, get 111 points. Now their point total is down to 103.5, and I do see Vegas taking a step back this year. I don't think it's a giant step back. So with the point total, they're in a really tough division, and I could see them being in the late 107, 108 type range. But I could also see them being in the early 100s as well. So I could see an instance where they maybe finish with 100 or 101 points or something like that and don't really reach their point total. So I don't really have much of an opinion there. Make the playoffs minus 600. I'm not going to obviously bet a minus 600, but I can't tell you to bet no at plus 425 because I don't see an instance where this Vegas Golden Knights team does miss the playoffs, unless, of course, they get absolutely horrible goaltending and have 6 injuries, all to important players. But you can't cap that. So I think Vegas makes the playoffs. Their point total is a question mark. When it comes to the next 4 bets there, I've not pulled the trigger on any of them, but I could see Vegas Golden Knights potentially winning their division again. The conference could be a good look as well. Win the Stanley Cup. It's hard to go back to back. It is hard to go back to back. So I'm not sure that they win the Stanley Cup, but I would look at win division. I'd look at win conference. President's Trophy, that's a possibility as well. But when you look at it, I do think that Vegas is going to take a small step back from last year. So I don't think that they actually do win the President's Trophy. So not something I'd be pulling the trigger on. Shockingly, when you look at a Stanley Cup team, you would think that they would be loaded with different props. You could bet player props for future bets and stuff. But I use DraftKings for every video for all the player props that I did on the show. Instead of going from site to site to site, I just used what DraftKings had, and they didn't really have a whole lot for Vegas Golden Knights, except for Eichel. So Eichel points at 75.5. He had, let me bring it up here. He had 66 last year. Of course, he only played 67 games. So if he was to play 10 more games, 77, I think he hits the point total over. Eichel to score a hat trick at plus 150. That's any time in the season. So just one game, he has to score a hat trick at any time in the any point in the season. That's a really interesting bet, and it's plus 150, so it's plus money, so it's a nice bet. But as a Vegas Golden Knights fan, I'm not, but any Vegas Golden Knights fans watching the show, I could see betting that prop, because if you watch your team every night, you'd love to cash a prop with Eichel to get a hat trick at some point. So that's a pretty interesting prop there. Hill wins at 26.5. He had 21, or sorry, he had 16 last year. Of course, he only played in 27 games. So he's going to play in more games this year, as long as he stays healthy and as long as he plays well. So I could definitely see him increasing his win total from 16. But what if it is a 1A, 1B? What if Hill does struggle and Logan Thompson plays well and takes the net? We've seen it happen with teams before. Aiden Hill doesn't have this, like, he's not Shesterkin. This isn't his net, guaranteed. He could potentially lose his job. So I don't know if I want to go with the over wins. I'm not laying minus 140 on a future bet to take an under either. Because he's on a very good team. So I don't want to take a minus 140 there. Who will have more points, Vegas or Dallas? That's a really interesting one. And that's a really, really tough one. So I don't have an official bet. Vegas is plus money, so we'll potentially look at them. But I'm really high on Dallas this year as well. So I think that's a really tough bet. So no official play for me in that one. Nick, future bets for the Vegas Golden Knights. Does anything on this list catch your eye?
Yeah. I mean, last year this team definitely caught my eye. I remember last year giving out them to win the division, to win the conference, to win the cup at 23-1. So this was definitely a team that made me plenty of money last year in the futures market. Whether or not I get to them again this year is a different question. I actually like two other teams in the West a little bit better when it comes to conference futures and cup futures, with the Oilers and the Kraken. Those are like the two that I like a little bit more, just value wise, considering that this is, I mean, granted, yes, they won the cup last year, but they're $11 cheaper now, or $11 worse on the price, because they were 23-1 last year. They're 12-1 this year to win the cup. Obviously, this team is built to repeat again, so I won't talk you guys off of playing them, because they're still within a decent price. 12-1 is still a decent payout, especially with a team with this much talent. Once again, this is a boomer bust type of team. If they stay healthy, they are definitely a cup contender. Once again, so I won't talk anybody off of Division 240, Conference 600, Stanley Cup 12-1. I think there's better. I think there's better value on the Kraken to win the division around 950 than there is for Vegas. At that, just at looking at numbers themselves, I think there's more value on that. Eichel to score a hat trick in any game of the year. That's kind of an interesting prop. I actually really like that. I would lean towards yes on that. And for me, I would lean towards Dallas to get more points, strictly because I think they play in the weaker division. They get more games against teams like Arizona and Chicago, Nashville, which I don't think is going to be that great this year compared to when you're in the Pacific Division. The only easy wins you really get is Anaheim and San Jose. Like those are like the easy, quote unquote, easy games um, in that division because I can see Vancouver taking a step up. Calgary, I think, could be better than they were last year. We'll see on them. The Kings are still sneaky, and then obviously the top of this division with Edmonton and Seattle are good too. So this is a tricky team to think. Can they go back to back? Absolutely. This team is built to go back to back. I think this is one of those teams that can win a second cup here, and then within 2 years they're tearing things down, and rebuilding because of cap troubles and things along those lines. But this is definitely a team that can go out there, win a decent amount of games, make the playoffs again, and win another cup. This definitely is a team that has the potential. So, am I going to be betting it? No, probably not. Maybe if they get off to a slow start and they give me a better price at it, maybe if at one point they're 15-1 or 17 or 18-1 to win the cup, maybe it might take a little bit of Vegas. But I don't think this is a team I'm getting to the window with yet.
All right. I just wanted to check here. Okay, yeah. So yeah, Eichel had 2 hat tricks last year.
Yeah,
One was against his former team, the Buffalo
I was going to say
Sabres,
Buffalo. Yeah,
and then the other one I wasn't quite sure who it was against, but plus 150, yeah, that's a really interesting bet that I didn't really see for any other team, so that's kind of interesting there. But that is the Vegas Golden Knights season preview show and the final season preview show of the year. Make sure to go and give any of the other teams a watch. Lots of different people came on the different shows, so a variety of opinions and thoughts on the different teams. As I said, make sure to stay tuned because I have my teams to watch, our players to watch on different teams video coming out. We have our power ranking show, and then it's NHL picks galore for the rest of the NHL season. So thank you everyone for watching. Give Nick a follow. Give me a follow if you want as well. And we'll see you on the future content on the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you everyone so much for watching this NHL season preview show. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons as we continue on breaking down all 32 NHL teams, which will lead to the regular season when the Getting Wild with Terry and Friends NHL betting show will return. Thank you everyone for watching. Of course, make sure to follow everyone in the description below that was on today's show to show them some support. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you on the next show.